Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who kept us going for over 400 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week is Sparkonics. He's a new dude. Thank you, Sparkonics. Hopefully you're enjoying all the side quest content. More coming. And I'm very, very slowly re-releasing all the 40 backlog of side quest episodes as audio only episodes.
Nice.
And of course, any future episodes, starting with the last couple that we've done, are going to be in video and audio format. But side quests are where we get to say literally anything we want at all and not have to worry about getting demonetized on YouTube or other platforms. So check those out.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing now, unfortunately.
But luckily, we also have a sponsor today. Of course, we're talking about Manscaped. And right now, that's the handyman razor that I got.
Handyman. It looks like a Game Gear battery pack.
It's so slick. But it is Fresh Face Fall. And you're all like, whoa, wait a second. Faces. You're all about balls here. It's true. We are all about balls. But the handyman razor is an electric razor for your face. And all right, I was a skeptic. I'm gonna be honest. Like I legit wasn't sure. Like, I was like, I don't know, what are we gonna thing's kind of amazing. I used it. I don't think I have shaved before using this in 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 2017.
This is made for the portable person. So if you're a portable gamer, this is made for portability. It uses USB-C, and it comes with a USB-C cable anyways. So,
charges super fast.
I mean, you don't have to worry about some weird, unique charger. Where's my portable razor charger? You don't need to worry about that. It's USB-C. Anything's going to use it. Even phones, whatever. Like anything you use with a cord nowadays basically use USB-C. So that's great. Holds a long charge. But yeah, this is just one of those things where it's like, don't you hate being somewhere where you're like, oh, I need to go get a razor. I need to go buy a disposable razor while you're out and about visiting family on a business trip, just generally out and about. And it's like, well, or you could just have this little handy man.
Well, it's like everything they're releasing now is sort of built for that on the go or like wet dry or like, I mean, granted, if you have a beard, so the one that I use the most, the product of theirs that I use the most is the Beard Hedger Pro.
Which works extremely well, actually.
Yeah.
We use it. I use it. I'm about due for it again because like that thing goes so quick. It is like, hit it and forget it kind of thing. It takes me significantly less time to actually get a good full clean trim with the beard with the
Beard Hedger. Oh yeah, no,
hedger than any electric razor I've ever used. Far more. And then this gets really close to and because I suffer from a common symptom of many men, which is neck beard. And to keep neck beard at bay, I usually have to like waste a lot of time on disposable razors and a lot of shaving cream and making sure you're doing it properly so you don't get cut. And this is a lot easier. This is a lot just okay. Just trim it up real close. It's not like they do sell razors even at Manscaped. So if you want that like completely smooth, this gets it so close that you don't need to worry about it for a while.
This got it, as far as I could tell, this was as close as a razor that I could get to. The thing I'm amazed by is I didn't get razor burn, because that's one of the main reasons why I started growing a beard is like
because I mean
that's skin safe technology. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but it's working.
Much like a porn star on their first day. This can go in dry. So
Okay, if you're interested in checking out any of their products, whether it's the Beard Hedger Pro, the Lawnmower 4.0, or the Handyman Razor, please head over to manscaped.com. Use our code YoVG, all caps, for 20% off and free shipping worldwide. That's code YoVG, all caps, at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping worldwide. Your balls, and now your face, will thank you.
Someone wanted to get through that real quick.
We're going into uncharted territory. I don't know if we could just. This is why we keep getting demonetized.
Well, I didn't want to name any names, and since this is no longer the advertisement plug, I was going to make a joke about a certain podcaster's wife, but
Okay, I'm gonna be out in them streets. All right. And look, I'm not
cares
saying
about him or what he thinks.
I'm not saying that I won't fight his wife while you fight him, but I'm not gonna like it.
I mean,
Okay?
have you ever seen that guy fight a punching bag?
No, to be honest, I actually don't even know who you're talking about.
Oh, really? I mean, we could say it, right? I mean,
I'm not gonna get mad.
I mean, I'm talking about Ben Shapiro.
I thought you meant there was like some dude like that was a porn star doing a
Oh,
podcast.
I was going to talk about much like Ben Shapiro. You could go in dry.
God.
Have you ever seen that video of him trying to punch a punching bag?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that. I don't really watch.
Oh my
any Ben
God, he's
Shapiro.
like super young before he did anything. Like he goes to this gym and the gym is like, yeah, you just be confident, like treat it like it's your enemy. And like he literally says all in there and like, all right, Baggy, you think you're better than me? You think you take me? He punches it once and it just goes boom, boom, right back in his face. And he's just like, and like he just awkwardly like runs out of like the school gym, like or the college gym he's in.
He's an episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Bro, it's
no, the only video that I've really watched of Ben Shapiro is that like Aquaman. It's like sell them to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman. You've never seen? All right, I'm going to send it. So for those of you listening and not watching the video, there's a video of Ben Shapiro at like a college campus where he's like, oh, if climate change is real and people lose their homes and stuff, if the oceans rise 10 feet and people lose their home, don't you think they'll just sell their homes? And then it freezes and it's just the sound of this guy. I think he's Australian, possibly, or not Australian. Maybe he's just British, but he's like, he cuts through the wall behind him with an axe and he just goes, sell them to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman. It's just like it hits very hard. I fucking love that video. This is why we're getting demonetized. I just dropped the F-bomb several times. But okay, it's 10:10 as of recording. We're recording on 10:10. And that inspired you to do what now?
10 consoles, 10 games that are 10 out of 10.
But all right, so I picked the easy consoles. I got to pick the PS1, PS2, 360, and like PS4.
I feel like you probably come like he's definitely gonna got one for 360. He's definitely got one for GameCube. PS1, PS2, that's good too, right? What's your fifth one?
I did like PS4.
Yeah, sure. PS4.
PS4's really easy.
Yeah, sure. I'll take the weirdo. I literally said I'll take the weirdo retro consoles.
Here's my thing: is I purposely tried to pick like 10 out of 10 games for me that I haven't said in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not all of them.
You did.
Yeah, no, not all of them.
This is basically a list episode, so people are going to be coming in here for the first time. You know, especially like on YouTube. Probably, hopefully, if you're here, then welcome.
Well, there's games that I've made fun of in the past that I'm also going to say right here where I'm like, no, it's 10 out of 10 experience for me.
Ooh.
Like it was my maybe not my first third person shooter experience, but it's up there. It's probably one of my like like when you think back to how you're like, yeah, was that the first? I'm not sure. And it's got a nonsense story, but we'll get into that. And then it just sent me down a rabbit hole where it was like Xbox 360, I think, was probably my most active console in terms of
playing. Well, because you would hit that certain point, and maybe I'm speaking about your life to you, but like you hit that point in your life where like you had some money,
and I had more time.
You had a lot of free time, and you were very young, and wired.
Yeah.
Able to, pull all those all-nighters and shit.
Um,
So I'm like, okay, Andrew, this is probably 360 was kind of like, the most irresponsible time of your gaming life.
all right, so
Because we've all been there, right?
I narrowed down my 360 to 2 that I think will be unexpected. Games that I feel are 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Right. And here's the thing is like, I know people are going to be like, oh, of course those are 10 out of 10. Obviously, I'm not picking crap games that I think are 10. They're just, if you've been listening to the podcast.
That's the thing. They've got to be 10 out of 10. I can't just pick a crap game or this
Right.
game is pretty good. It's a little underrated. No, it's got to be 10 out of 10.
Right. And it's, I was tempted to look a lot of these up to see what their critic scores are, but I held off. And no, I did not pick Blasto. But it is funny how Blasto might work into this conversation.
No, it already did.
Okay.
It just did.
Because Blasto was, I believe it was developed by the same studio as one of the games that I'm going to say. Our Lord and Savior, Silicon Knights. No, it's not Silicon Knights. It's 989.
989.
Yeah, 989 was Sony Interactive Studios, right? At one
Or
point,
there was a 989, but 989 also published like other, like they would like mass publish stuff. It was kind of like Sony's first party brand for a while,
right? And then it became Sony Interactive Studios, or
yeah.
yeah.
Like there was like a dedicated 989, developer.
Yeah,
So,
and they did the first game that I'm going to bring up, 10 out of 10 on the PS1.
Okay,
Siphon Filter. Not Siphon Filter 2. Just Siphon Filter.
we just played this last weekend on stream.
All right, and I know it doesn't hold up really.
No.
That Siphon Filter run does not hold up.
No.
But it had
No,
a
it
couple
doesn't.
things that, at least how I remember it, and again, I realize that this isn't going to necessarily be super accurate, but it was one of the first third-person shooters that I played where you could just kind of like run around wherever. You weren't on like a track almost, if that makes sense. Not every gun, I don't think, but like when you aim down sights, it would switch into a first person to give you more accurate shooting.
Yeah.
Stuff. Especially like snipers and stuff. You had a radar. And it was one of the first games where, like, for anybody who's never played it, Siphon Filter is a weapon. It's like a virus or something made by a German scientist. This is the 90s, so they're still holding on to the Germans are bad. It's 45 years later, but like they're all fucking bad. The main character was named like Logan. Yeah, Gabe Logan.
Gabe Logan. Do you know who did make Siphon Filter?
That was fuck, I wrote this down somewhere.
Sony Bend.
But I thought it was 989 Studios.
Okay, so yes, but that was the division of Sony that was sort of like the blanket umbrella. This is from the Bend studio. They're in Oregon. This is the game. This was their comeback game after Bubsy 3D.
It's not their comeback game after Cool Borders 3. Also a 10 out of 10
I'm pretty
game.
sure Cool Borders 3 was probably done by somebody else as a Idle Minds. Did Cool Borders, because again, like 99 was again sort of like a blanket, like for I mean it's literally the listed company on the front of the box.
Right. This is where my whole, like, every time you'd go to the gym and use one of those little shit ass lockers, I would use 989, is because I have a distinct memory of the 989 logo, and of course 989 Studios. Which at one point somebody had convinced me that was like an AI voice, that wasn't a human voice. They were like, yeah, no, they programmed that.
Sure.
Kids are dumb. Kids are dumb, and we believed that. I believed it. The reason why Blasto works into this is like Blasto is also related to 989 Studios. Blasto also a 10 out of 10 game. It was very hard to choose which one to pick on my list here, obviously. Siphon Filter also was, I don't actually remember if Siphon Filter has had a multiplayer. But I don't.
2 or 3 did, I believe.
Yeah, but we don't talk about
No,
2.
2 did. 2 added multiplayer.
I don't even think I played 2. Like I rented 2 and we owned 1.
And
But
there was a 3.
yeah, I know. I didn't 989 stop being
Yes.
a thing.
They stopped being a thing in 2000, and they started up a year later and stopped being a thing again in 2005.
Yeah, at one point they had like 5 employees or something like that.
It's probably something terrible like that.
Do we want to go through mine first before we go to
Well,
yours, or do you want to switch one to
we're
one?
gonna switch around. So you're saying siphon filter.
Yeah.
So you're
That's a
arguing
10 out of
siphon
10
filter
because
because it kind of broke some ground for third person shooters. Like it kind of made them viable. I guess you could kind of argue because it came out like right after Metal Gear, and it was kind of a more actiony, more
well, they definitely marketed it like it was for the same crowd.
right.
I mean, that's why we got it in the first place. But like, especially because me and my brother were doing that sibling thing where, like, if he had a favorite game, Metal Gear Solid, I had to like the actiony, more hardcore versions.
Yeah.
Slow Metal Gear Solid.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of neat where in a way where it's like because this came out literally like 5 months after Metal Gear Solid, in America, North America.
I don't think we got it until maybe a year after it came out. Then.
Okay. Well, either way, like it was following in because GoldenEye, Mission Impossible, even Metal Gear Solid kind of followed in a sense. There was a big craze for that sort of, and Tom Clancy, Rainbow Six starting all in this same time period, right?
Yeah.
This was all big at the time. It's like, espionage, just general espionage stuff was fucking hot at the time.
Yeah.
It was hot and sexy. And
I'm trying to think what the German scientist's name was.
And siphon filter?
Yeah, what was this fucking? Because I remember him having like that Eastern German, like an East German. I'm the bad guy, yeah.
I was the bad guy, yeah.
I should just
Markinson. Is that his name? Mara Armor.
Let me see here. I got it pulled up. Third person shooter. Plot centers on special agents. Eric, but with a CH, Romer.
Eric Romer.
Now, granted, since it's 2 vowels back to back, I think in German that's Reamer.
Eric Remer.
But still amazing. It's just a really mysterious biological weapon. But okay, it's one of those games where if you went back and played it, actually, maybe a lot of these are, but if you went back and played it now, you'd be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, and we just did. So I just played this,
Right.
on Wednesday, last week, and no, this doesn't hold up at all.
No,
No,
you
Saturday.
didn't.
Sorry, I did it on Saturday. I played it on Saturday. It is not. It does. The best thing is still the damn taser, where you can literally tase a dude until he ignites into flame.
Yeah. I love the use of cyber green. It was one of the first games that I saw using cyber green everywhere.
It definitely was one of. I think it was definitely a hot thing. It was a hot ticket when it came out.
Yeah. I had the PSM magazine poster of it, I think, or I had a magazine poster of it. Yeah,
it's definitely kind of in your ballpark. I guess I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. None of my actually just 3 out of the 5 are all siphon filters. So it is my ballpark. All right. So hit us with some culture then. You got the weird ones. I gave us the fruit snacks.
So not okay. Let's go really wild, like kind of like left field. Let's keep it
Leisure Suit Larry. All right, I'm in.
Let's talk about Game Boy Color.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about how fucking amazing Metal Gear Ghost Babel is. Metal Gear
Yeah.
Solid Ghost Babel is, because it came
Yeah.
out after, and it was just called Metal Gear Solid in North America.
Yeah.
And when you realize that the name is it's Metal Gear, it's like Metal Gear Solid or just Metal Gear Ghost Babel. You're like, fuck, why didn't they call it that in North America as well? Damn, that's such a cooler name.
Yeah, I don't remember. How is Babel spelt on that?
BABEL.
Like the tower? Like the tower? Yeah.
Yeah, Ghost Babel. It's called Metal Gear Ghost Babel, in Japan, and it's like, why wasn't that called that out here? Anyway, so you have a Game Boy Color game that has ton of cutscenes, a ton of codec calls, a whole plot line that goes back sort of like to the whole Soldiers Without Frontiers thing.
Right.
You have a nuclear disarmament plot line. You have betrayal. You have betrayal from the top, even from like your own government sending you in to dismantle these people.
Right.
You have a shit ton of VR missions that are like just extra, just like in Metal Gear Solid originally.
I don't remember the
So,
VR missions at all, but then again, this would have been I would have been like 10 or 11.
right, yeah. And it has a 2-player competitive mode.
I also don't remember doing that at all. Do you remember the big like connector cables you had to carry everywhere?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
okay.
big fatty cables.
I had them. But
it's yeah, you're fighting a separatist guerrilla group in Central Africa. Yeah, and it's crazy. All this stuff is just there. It's amazing what they were cramming this into a Game Boy Color thing, right? All this plot, all this story. There's a really effed up plot about like the engineer who's working on it is actually a kid. It's like this like little like fat annoying kid who's like a genius. And then at some point the terrorists like had his jacket lined with bombs and he blows up. Um yeah, it's insane. This game's rated E, by the way.
there's a lot of
Rated
things
E
that
for everyone by the ESRB. um,
huh.
it's there's so much. It's just all this crazy stuff. Where like they don't pull any punches whatsoever. The only thing they changed was a cigarette and called it a fogger, a smoke emitting device.
I There's a lot that I don't remember about this, and now I'm wondering if maybe I didn't play. I definitely owned a Metal Gear game on Game Boy, though.
Mm.
I'm trying to remember if maybe I just
I don't
didn't,
think there is any other one, but
because it's top down, right?
yeah, it's
Oh,
top
okay.
down. It plays like Metal Gear 1 and 2, like the NES
Right.
ones.
Okay.
Yeah, you team up with actually you might be, I don't know, you could probably tell me if this is actually bull. He teams up with Sergeant Christine Jenner, a surviving member of Delta Force. Which does Delta Force have female
No,
members? That's what I thought.
no, but I
uh
mean, whatever. Like I can let that slide. like, like I'm the arbiter of what's allowed. Like, oh, how dare
But
they?
yeah, like you're basically going up against a defunct special forces unit, who's doing all this stuff.
Yeah, par for course for Metal Gear.
Yeah, it's just yeah, and then like you basically it because the whole thing kind of like weirdly kind of mimics um the contraband uh I don't want to say contraband, the Central American shenanigans that Reagan got involved
Oh
with.
yeah, the Contra affairs. Yeah,
Contra affairs, thank you. Contraband. No, but like
good enough though.
it heavily mimics the sort of like controversy surrounding that, where it was like you have basically a special forces unit that was like in league with other things to destabilize, and then the government turns its back on them, kind of thing. And yeah, it's like this is a Game Boy Color game. It's
This is a
great.
totally. This is. I mean, this is such an aside, but you brought this up, and I read the biography. I read the autobiography by one of the founding members of Delta Force like 10 years ago, and he quit the military after he was sent down to kill a rebel leader, and the guy he killed he recognized from selection.
Mm.
And so he was like, oh, that dude was working for the United States government, and I just killed him to clean up our own mess. I'm done. Like that's how
Yep.
the book ends. I was like, this is just in an autobiography. Like, like nobody.
Right.
Okay,
So
that's
they
dark.
literally have this in a Game Boy Color game.
Yeah.
And it's like this is wild. But here's the thing: Game Boy Color was a little short-lived. It came out in like '98, was basically defunct in 2001 when the Game Boy Advance came out.
Which is
So
too
really
bad.
only it was only around for 3 years, and even then, like some of the games were like cross-gen compatible with the old Game Boy, and then a lot of games were just Game Boy Color only, right? But
Well, the Game Boy
whereas
Color was cool. One, it had all the different, like I had the purple clear, and it had like
the
the.
atomic purple,
Mhm. And it also, I had the matching Cobra light that like it was a screen
was that
protector when you had.
yeah,
Yeah, when you had it
okay,
laying
yeah.
down, and then when you popped it up, the Cobra head came up and shot lights down onto the. I had that in the same clear atomic purple. Um, but it was also it was much smaller than the original, but it was just small enough that you could like pop it in your pocket as a kid.
Yeah.
Um, although those huge shorts and pockets and stuff are all coming back into style now. So kids today,
Yeah, for a system that didn't make it to its 3rd birthday,
it went
uh,
everywhere with me.
Game
Yeah.
Boy Color had some amazing titles on it, and Ghost Babel is arguably the most ambitious. You can maybe argue Pokemon Gold, Silver was super ambitious for its time, but I don't know, like with the story and everything they were going with and trying to cram cinematically into a Game Boy Color game, and for the most part succeeding as long as you don't mind reading text. Just wow.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like yeah, Kojima like literally made a little mini masterpiece on the Game Boy Color, and the world just kind of like forgot about it.
Look, it's Kojima's way. All the stuff that he puts the most work into and it gets forgotten tends to be like this little Matt, like he had like a card game, Metal Gear Solid, that I never played. It was on
Acid
the it was on the PSP.
number
Um,
2.
oh, number 2 was on PSP.
There's 2, Acid 1 and 2 on PSP.
Well, I don't know which one is the one that people say is a masterpiece, but it often gets brought up as like it's a underrated gem.
Mm,
And like one, I don't really do card games all that much.
yeah.
I did Pokemon and I did Yu-Gi-Oh for a little while. All right, I'm good. I'm good on the card games. Um, but yeah, he has like a bunch of smaller handheld Metal Gears, right? There's how many are on Game Boy?
Just the one.
That's the only one on Game Boy. I thought there was. Did they re-release
Just Ghost Babel. It's the only one on Game Boy.
on
Yeah.
any of the Game Boys at all?
Yeah, it's just Ghost Babel.
And then he has 2 on PSP.
It's 4 on PSP. There's
There's-
Acid, Acid 2, Portable Ops, and Peace Walker.
Peace Walker was on PSP.
I believe so, unless it was Vita, but I'm pretty sure it was PSP.
I thought Peace Walker was later. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is he has a bunch of handheld Metal Gear games, and
Yeah, it was
almost
PSP.
every single one of them follows that. Like he's betrayed by his government. It's like, why is Solid Snake still doing his job? Like, what are you doing? All right. Well, since we're talking about Metal Gear Solid, I'll say that on PS2, I had a very hard time narrowing down the amount. Like there were so many games, and I figured like there's just no way this is one of the expected ones. I can get by without saying the best Metal Gear game, Metal Gear Solid 3. It's just a 10.
That feels like that feels like a real easy 10 out of
You can't
easy.
like what do you or like I don't know.
I would argue 2 is not. I would argue 2 is a little but here's the thing: are you talking about subsistence? Because
Yeah.
like I remember the first version of Metal Gear 3 being pretty rough with its camera.
I didn't have a problem with it, but the one that I'm remembering the most is Subsistence because that's probably the one that I played last.
Yeah, because that has camera control. That actually has a third person camera in it. And like the
that's
other
right.
like
Yeah.
the first version was like still doing like the top down, but like
The 45-degree angle.
yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
I played that version too, and I still love that version. I don't give a fuck. It's sort of like all the absolute dweebs who love fixed camera angles in Resident Evil. Just trigger an entire fan base. No, I wasn't bothered by the camera all that much. But yeah, no, once you in subsistence, when you have control of the camera, it's way better. But I think Metal Gear Solid 3 is so much better than 2
Yeah,
that I don't really think it's a contest. It was so
it's weird because
obvious with the
there is
2.
some people who are like, "Oh, choose the real masterpiece." People don't
On the
appreciate it. I'm like,
boat, on the boat, 2 is a masterpiece. When you're playing as Solid Snake on
yeah,
that boat, like, that section of the game is excellent. It's
mhm.
everything you could want. And it's such a leap forward from Metal Gear Solid
Yeah,
that you're just like, "What the fuck?" Once you get onto, what is it, Big Shell?
Big Shell. Yeah,
Once you get onto Big Shell, I didn't have a problem with Raiden. I didn't really like any
it's
of the
just that.
villains.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There's the problem. Is that Big Shell's boring? The villains aren't memorable.
Right. I can't think of a single part of Big Shell, like, environmentally that sticks out in my mind. Like, I can picture it, but, like, for the most part, it's boring environmentally, and then on
Yeah,
top of that, like, I can't think of a single one of the villain like, Vamp is kinda cool, but at the same time, a little silly, I don't know.
yeah.
There's just not, like, a lot of memorable
What, you don't
parts
like
to
Fat Man?
I sorta like Fat Man, to be honest, yeah, kinda, I guess,
Those
but,
roller
like,
skates and stuff?
yeah, look, what 90s kid doesn't love a rollerblading baddie, okay? Just like there were whole movies made about rollerblading baddies.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, Metal Gear Solid 3 just like knocks it out of the water. And I was tempted to just say Resident Evil 4 here and then be a dick and do it again on GameCube. Uh,
But the PS2 version is so significantly worse.
it's yeah, I know. Well, other than the fact that it's more complete, right?
Yeah, but
Like
when
there's
you control it, it's like I remember some point way later, like, I was somewhere oh, no, I mean, I might have even been at Max's actually, and we booted up the RE4 version or a PS2 version of RE4, and I was like, "Holy god, it's like mud."
well, it
Like
runs like shit. And the only time I played it on like the thin PS2.
mhm.
And I don't know, like I know technically the thin PS2 is supposed to be better than the OG thicken. And the reason we got the thin PS2 is because we ran that other one
I
into the
mean,
ground.
I think it's more stable, but it's not like the hardware is not any different inside.
No, and like when it starts to get hot, that I don't know if the thin one I don't know. I always see it always seemed like to me like it didn't run as
Yeah,
smoothly as the original. But also again was like 14?
yeah,
Well, 2005?
yeah. Well, late 2005 for PS2. But,
Yeah,
like,
so
I
I
remember either way, I remember playing it and I was like, "Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. This actually controls like crap." Like, it just controls sluggish and
yeah.
awful. Like, it is not a good version of that game.
Yeah, you just have, like, all the DLC for it was included in it, wasn't it? Wasn't the PS2 version you had, like,
Right, well, I mean,
Secretaries
there was
and
no DLC for GameCube or PS2, but, yes, DLC PS2 had separate ways.
DLC is the wrong term for it,
Right.
but,
Well,
yeah, it
separate
had
ways
extra content.
first started on PS2 with separate ways, but,
Right.
I mean, separate ways on PS2 is not good.
Yeah, this is
It's
just
not
not
it's
worth
not
it.
it's not really
Um,
good on anything, honestly.
yeah, so I thought about, being a dick and just saying the same game twice as a funny, but I didn't.
So,
I
yeah, so Metal Gear Solid, well, Ghost Babel and 3, Snake Eater, you're saying is a well, Snake Eater seems like an easy 10 out of 10. I don't think anyone's gonna disagree with that.
right? There's just not a I don't know. I don't
It's not as good as Rising, but, you know,
um yeah, if Rising was a real Metal Gear game, then yes, Metal Gear Rising would be
is a
the
real Metal
better one.
Gear. The Metal
But
Gear
it's not.
Rising.
It's not.
See, 3 is a solid.
Uh,
Rising's a
they
rising.
could literally give it any name that they wanted, and you'd be like, "Yeah, it's a good game." Doesn't have to be a Metal Gear game. Um, just like getting that flame war going again. Uh, I was about to jump ahead. I'm sorry. You're up. What's your
Oh.
again? Give me the culture.
I guess more this one's more obvious, which is I'm gonna say Dreamcast. And I remember when I read it for the first time, I thought they were full of it. I'm like, this is impossible. This can't be. How could this how could this possibly be a 10 out of 10? But it really is. And it's Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur was content rich, feature rich, looked better than anything at the time, any game anywhere on anything. But not just that, it just played so dang well. Soul Calibur 1 reignited my love for fighting games. Soul Calibur 1 is one of the greatest fighting games of all time. It is easy to pick up and play. It is hard to master. It has got a ton of stuff to dig into and unlock in, like, single player content and just everything about that game. Everything about that game is it really truly deserves the 10 out of 10s that it got. Like Soul Calibur and Dreamcast. Like, and the thing is, like, Dreamcast has a lot of fighting games, a lot of favorite fighting games. It has Marvel 2, has CVS 2, has Guilty Gear X, X2, and even in Japan. But like, I gotta be real with y'all. Like, Soul Calibur to me is more special than all of them. Like, I truly think Soul Calibur is like one of the greatest games.
Playing fighting games on that controller, though.
Oh, the blisters!
That must have. It's like a sharp. There's the hot spots that you'd get on the backs or like the pads of your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Oh, the Dreamcast blisters, as I would call them.
Yeah, no, and like you'd get calluses if you're playing for oh no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
My brother had that like callus on his thumb from like hitting things too fast. So he had like that. I don't know, forever. I don't know.
Oh, Soul Calibur is so great. It had a whole row of characters, and there was a whole second row of characters to unlock. Like, there's not that unlocking character. Like, now, unlocking characters is kind of antiquated in fighting games, but it did at the time. It gave you plenty to work for and towards, and then all the gallery stuff and artwork and stuff, and that you could customize and reshoot like. You had all the whole intro of the game was real time, so they actually had a thing and a director editor program in the game.
Oh yeah,
where you could re-edit the intro to be what you wanted, to show what characters you wanted and what sequence. It's like, this is so cool.
I mean, the Dreamcast in general was very cool, and it feels like everybody who made something for Dreamcast realized how cool the Dreamcast was.
Yeah,
which is why it died young. It died. And
like both Game Boy Color and Dreamcast, they barely made it to 3 years before they died.
Cool shit always does. Yeah. It's just like how everyone knows that the Taco Game Boy Advance is cooler than the SP. And that's why the Taco disappeared.
Oh, well, people actually like that, though, because it feels more comfortable. Because the SP is like, you're kind of like this.
I'm not kidding.
But the Taco feels better to hold.
The Taco is better. Yes, do you get screen glare? Sure, but the Taco's
people replace the screens now. Now the whole community is obsessed with like screen replacement now, and people like to replace the Taco screen.
Well, I was fighting the good fight, okay, out there in the schoolyard when everyone had their brand new SPs, and I was still there with the Taco. They're all, yeah, but you got glare. So I don't care about the glare. The Taco's better. I am passionate about it. I still have my Taco.
What color?
The snow white. The like white.
With what color buttons?
Purple?
Okay.
I think if I'm remembering.
Well, there was like the weird. Okay, well,
you had like gray.
There's gray. If I remember right, there's gray. There was teal and orange at some point as well.
I have gray, or I have like purple or something. Like in my head, it seems purple, but purple's my favorite color, so that's how I.
So the color, the system itself is not purple. The plastic is not purple.
No. The system itself is white.
Okay.
And the buttons are like gray or.
Yeah,
but like I know they have like custom ones now, where if you can buy like they'll replace all the plastic and stuff.
Yeah. No, because I got I think the one I was able to snag at launch was the clear purple one.
Ooh, I wish.
I'm thinking, did you get yours at launch? You might have.
Yeah,
you have the gray button one. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Because like in my head, it seems like they could have been blue, I guess, too. But
no, you have the snow white and gray. Yeah. You definitely have that one. And I know they had the pink not long after that.
I had the belt carrier. It could carry the advance and then like 3 games plus 1 in the actual like, and like you run a belt through it and wear it around your waist. You remember that? holster.
Yep.
Yeah, I was extremely.
There's a
cool.
lot of holsters for a lot of old portable systems. I don't know if people don't remember this back in the day. Like holsters were a thing.
Like when I was skating mediocrely around, you gotta have a holster for your Game Boy Advance, and it better be padded.
They had a pretty crazy couple of Tony Hawk games on the Game Boy Advance, the isometric ones.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they were like I remember thinking like isometric, but people were like they're actually very good. I remember hearing that they were actually good.
I don't remember playing a ton of sports games on my Advance. I did like, like Tactics Ogre and
Yeah.
a couple of RPGs, stuff like that. Like I didn't play like a lot of sports games, but also I've never like I liked Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. But I've never really played like a ton of sports games just generally. All right, I got one for GameCube that I'm sure is beloved by more than just me, but maybe people aren't expecting me to say this is the 10 out of 10 that I picked for GameCube. Eternal Darkness.
Okay.
I think it's like Nintendo's first M-rated game.
Yeah, it might have been, yeah.
It's one of the first.
I know people are going to jump on and say, but Conquer was published by Rare.
Yeah, that's fair actually. Now I'm going to
As far as publishing goes, I think it was their first M-rated title they published.
But fitting into the Metal Gear vein, Silicon Knights is who made it, and they also Twin Snakes.
Yeah, they also made Twin Snakes.
And I have a note. They also did Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen.
The original,
yeah. So not any of the ones anybody would remember, but they made the original. Which I love Legacy of Kain still too. But yeah, I remember I didn't like horror games that much as a kid. Like I played Resident Evil, but most of the time I didn't play like a lot of horror games growing up. GameCube is probably actually when I first started really playing horror games. I guess I played Doom 3. No, I must have played Doom 3 after because I played Doom 3 way after it came out.
Okay, yeah, which is after Eternal Darkness. Darkness came out in like 2002.
Yeah, so I think Eternal Darkness is the first horror game I played through myself. Which, and there's certain sections that I like more than others. Which I think, it was also one of the first games that I played where it seemed like it was trying to tell like this like really broad, far-reaching.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like spiritual. It also, if I remember correctly, it spells magic with like CK, and that seemed very cool at the time. Like we were just like, oh. I'm trying to think like the key things that I really loved about it, but it's probably all my generic memories of like the first Spoopy, and we're in the month of Spoopy. That's another reason I picked it as my 10 out of 10. I'm sure that like the easy ones to pick would have been things like Beyond Good and Evil. Obviously, I loved.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 game, love it, but I didn't want to pick it for this.
RIP sequel.
It never existed, and they never announced it, and I don't want to talk about it. But Eternal Darkness is one of those ones where I don't actually know how critics love it, but I think it's pretty beloved.
It was
like it gets talked about. I don't know if it really inspired anyone, and I have no idea if sequels came out. Like I truly like this is like Silicon Knights died shortly after.
Well, not as shortly as, sadly, not as shortly as you would think, because first they made 2 Human for the Xbox 360, which was supposed to be Dennis Dyack, and it was supposed to be the start of a big old trilogy for Xbox, and that didn't happen because the first game came out and it was terrible, and then
I played
they made X-Men Destiny.
I did not play that.
To basically just get some money from Activision at the time because they were like desperate.
Come on, guys.
and they sued Epic because they thought they were getting shortchanged on the Unreal Engine in 2 Human. They did not win their lawsuit with Epic.
No.
And yeah, this was because that was after after Eternal Darkness was Twin Snakes, of course. But then and then after Twin Snakes was 2 Human, and then
But 2 Human was like I guess to be fair, Silicon Knights wasn't a big company, so they weren't pumping out games every year. It was like every few years.
Yeah.
It's too
there's a real awkward history there that involves Dennis Dyack doing interviews with Penthouse and one of his lead designers like getting arrested for being a pedophile, and
did not know that part. That's all right.
Not him, but one of the lead people who worked there was because they tried to kickstart a spiritual sequel to Eternal Darkness on Kickstarter, and that that didn't go so well when one of their like lead designers got ousted as a pederast. And then of course there was the whole thing where he tried to go online and argue with people on forums about 2 Human before it came out, and it basically was accusing people of like just generally trying to spread information, trying to sabotage his company, stuff like that. Like never a good idea.
He it's sort of lucky that he wasn't around in the time of Twitter,
for
2 Human, like that would have been.
See, most people don't even remember this happened with Silicon Knights.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like good in their sense, where it's like, people don't even know how like sad and weak of an ending to the whole thing was. But like, man, if that guy was around for the Twitter days, ugh.
Well, because that 2 Human came out like right at the beginning of Facebook, right? It was like MySpace was still the dominant force.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that was, oh man. All right, I had kind of a hard time choosing one on 360.
Did you?
I'm sorry. I once again moved on to my next one without you bringing the culture. I'm here for the snacks because I did not play the culture. Give me the culture.
I'll give you the culture. I mean, I've talked about it a lot before, but for like Saturn, I'm always arguing for Shining Force 3, but I feel that you kind of have to play 3 games for it. I'm going to argue Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Okay.
Is really good. It's hard. It's a little hard to say if it really is a 10 out of 10, especially now, because it's so choked by its hardware. Like the hardware is it's so choked by its ambition, in the hardware it's on, that can't possibly hope to run what they're trying to do there. But
are you playing it on have you played it on an emulator, or did you play
it on
the original?
I've only ever played it on original hardware.
I wonder if it runs better on emulator.
I doubt it. I don't know. But anyways, like Panzer Dragoon Saga is such a wonderful antithesis to pretty much everything that's sort of like of the time, and sort of even now, with when people think of JRPGs, they think of a certain thing, and this game has like no interest in being like anything at all.
I never played it, never owned a Saturn, never.
It doesn't have a party. You don't have a group that you go around with or anything. The game is primarily mostly just about revenge. Like you're basically like a guard, working at a mine shaft where like people are excavating ruins, and then someone from the Empire comes in and they dig something up, and he kills all of the people, and like the lieutenant or whatever just kills everyone, no witnesses, and you get shot down a shaft, but you survive, and then you find this dragon comes and rescues you, kind of thing. And then so you're riding this dragon, and you're just alone, just wandering across like this wilderness, chasing this ship that murdered you and all your other coworkers, or other soldiers with you. And then like you do meet other people, and it's just kind of like, you're just in this weird, twisted, lonely world of like really messed up bioengineered monsters and like this just this sort of this one dominant like this the generic like they call it an empire, but like it's so bizarre. It's because it's all Mobius inspired. Hell, Mobius did artwork for the series,
And do
so
love that.
so it's just kind of like and what they excavated was like this bioengineered humanoid thing, and you awaken it and like you talk to it thing, and there's like this other I mean, it's just so weird and bizarre, and it doesn't end on like a doesn't even really have a weird happy note. It ends very, very much like a Mad Max film. Um, and like it was what's interesting because like the director of the game who did not do Panzer Dragoon Orta on Xbox, because Orta is supposed to be a sequel to it, where it's like the main character met up with Azelle in the future, and then like you play as their daughter, and he's like, my intention was that he never found her.
Wow.
Like the director said, like what the ending is basically him like deciding to leave. um he just gets on like a not a horseback but like a creature, and he's just going to go wander the desert looking for this lost person, and the director was like, my intention was that he just wandered the way so he never found her, kind
I
of thing. Like it is just so bizarre and out there, and it's
Do
like
you
a like
ever feel like we don't get stuff like that anymore? As like, it's really cool that gaming has exploded as an industry to the point where like one of the biggest problems with being a gamer today is like figuring out what you want to buy.
yeah.
Um, you know, but also we don't really get a lot of like that weird shit that
Yeah,
sticks with
well,
you.
you can argue the indie scene is there, but like the indie scene, I think the indie scene loses something in the sense of like, okay, well, playing as a burnt out 30-year-old in a beard traveling across, the Route 66 hardly feels like the same. It's kind of like, yo, man, I'm trying to find myself and make a game. I'm like, this is just out there. Like this is a weird, twisted, lonely world, and like the character is the same way. The character doesn't have Spike they had a 20th anniversary interview with the artist. He's like, yeah, we like Sega really wanted us to make our Final Fantasy, like a Sega Final Fantasy. And like that sounded like something none of us wanted to do. So I intentionally did everything in my power to make the main character not be the opposite of Cloud in every single way. So he has this like frumpy, like just hair that just falls in front of his face, no spiky hair, no nothing. Like we just didn't want to do any of that. And since Sega was just sort of like in panic mode at the time, they basically left us to our own devices, and we just made the game we wanted to make, which was just this weird, crazy game about like a dragon that like you can evolve into different forms, how you feed it, how you level it, and then like the story is just wild. The story is is like 70s and 80s sci-fi, but like
Oh,
but
yeah.
like not mainstream 70s sci-fi, not Star
No,
Wars, right?
no,
Not
no. I
not
know what you're talking about. Yeah. Like David Lynch.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, like just David Lynch, Mad Max kind of, just
Yeah.
just real sort of atmospheric, kind of like experimental almost.
Weird. I like that.
Unfortunately, the game is about $1,200 used now.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I'm really upset that Sega's not done anything with it. I'm really upset Sega's not offered to like commission someone to do a remaster. Hopefully, maybe with the Panzer Dragoon remakes, maybe they can do one. I don't know. All they really have to do is just nail the art style, and just keep it going. Because it's because like people hear about Panzer Dragoon like, oh, apparently that's really good. I'm like, yeah, but you think it's like this crazy RPG, like it's not like Final Fantasy at all. It's not like anything.
Right.
It's not like any RPG you've really ever played. It's not even like I can't even say it's like Fallout, because like Fallout's post-apocalyptic too, technically, but Fallout is definitely its own thing. It's like tinged with cynicism and
Mhm.
humor and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And this is not that. This is Mad Max. It's Mad Max 1 in a world of flying
Mm.
dragons and giant, bioengineered beasts and stuff. I can't. The mood is so 70s, early 80s, like experimental sci-fi. And I wish more people had the opportunity to experience it.
Yeah, there's a lot of games like that. I mean, there's a lot of the movies like that for me too, but there's a lot of games like that where it's like you'll never you can't explain. Maybe it's the place and time or it's the style that it's harkening back to, but it's not going to get remade.
Yeah.
You know, like that there's very little ways to share this with people. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that's man. Well, following that up with the game I picked for Xbox 360. 360 is kind of it was a really difficult one for me because there's a lot of games that I consider 10 out of 10, and I really wanted to pick a game that like 10 out of 10 still, like not just picking it to be weird,
Mhm.
but like maybe wouldn't be the one expected for me. Like obviously Call of Duty 4, right? Is
Why isn't it COD 4? Because and here's the thing, because everyone's gonna be like, "COD's the same thing every year, blah blah blah, same shooting, whatever,
but
linear." I'm like,
COD 4
bro,
wasn't. Yeah, COD 4 really
COD
wasn't.
4 is truly one of the greatest shooting, like first person shooters of all time.
It
I will stand
was
on that
so
hill.
different from what they were doing with Call of Duty before it that
Right.
I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna get that." Like, it's not World War II. They're trying to go way down. Like, I don't know if I like the art style. And then I played it, and it's yes, Call of Duty 4 is a 10 out of 10 game. We all know it, and that's why I didn't want to like it. I have
Mm.
talked many times about how much I loved Call of Duty 4. Uh, and Xbox 360, like, there was such a like there was it was so what did it go 7 years? When did it officially stop?
Oh, 360 had a very long life.
Right. What
A very, very long. It was like 2006 to like 2013.
I think it went longer than that because didn't Saints Row 4 have a version on
But
360?
probably, I
And that
mean,
was like in
there was
2014.
there
Like
was cross-gen stuff, yes. I'm just saying, like,
crazy.
when Xbox One came out in 2013, but I mean, like, yes, there was still 360 games being made further
So
in.
I'm now realizing that maybe it might have been cross gen when let me see, what year did that come out before I say why are you like this? What year did XCOM come out? Like
The reboot?
yeah, the one for 360. Wasn't it like 2007 or something
I
like that?
don't know when the reboot came out.
Enemy Unknown was 2012 and it was done by Firaxis.
Yeah, for
Um
Axis one.
yeah, so 2012. So it was towards the end of the 360, but it's like a 10 out of 10.
Mhm.
Like I was ready for it. Like I wanted a tactics, I wanted sci-fi, like it just hit. And no, I'm not going to say that it is like a perfect game. There's a lot of things about it I'm sure that people didn't like, but I liked it a lot.
I
But
remember the reboot finally coming out and being very well received.
yeah, it's great. And like I don't think I played XCOM 2, or I did, but I played it on PC.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, like, in the in between, because with the original XCOMs and that one,
Yeah.
there was this period where they were gonna make an XCOM shooter, like a
Oh, I
straight
don't remember that at
like
all.
oh, it was so weird. It went through this huge long dev hell where they were gonna make this shooter version, like a third person or a first person, and it was gonna be like following a single character, a named character, one, and like it got delayed, and then like
Huh.
and people were like kind of hating it every time it got shown because it wasn't XCOM. Like XCOM's been gone so long, you're gonna bring it back as like this weird first person shooter, cinematic first person shooter, third person shooter. And I don't even know if that project ever even I think it did. I think it eventually came out. But yeah, it was like this weird thing where it's like it kept getting pushed and then finally whoever did the XCOM was like, okay, people really want like a traditional XCOM. They finally made the one everyone wanted,
Yeah, it was
which
Firaxis
the
Games that finally
Firaxis,
yeah.
yeah, Firaxis, Fireaxis, whatever, Firaxis, they made the reboot of XCOM, and that's what everyone wanted. And I remember it being very well received.
Yeah,
Um,
I loved it. I hadn't played the originals, but I knew about the originals. Um,
mhm.
and just like every now and then I get like this itch to play a tactics style game and like just really just get into it for a while. Same with like Civ. Like every few years, all of a sudden I'll be like, I really want to just play Civ for like the next 2 weeks. Be like really into Civ
You
again.
know what? It did come out. I forgot, and it was called The Bureau, XCOM Declassified. Um,
What?
yeah, it came out a year afterwards. Um, the funny thing was,
Oh,
it was gonna be called XCOM. Like they were, that was what got everyone kind of tilted. was that originally the game was just going to be called XCOM, and it was just like this weird third-person shooter game.
Yeah, you know what I do remember? I do remember the Bureau seeing stuff for it. I never played it though.
Yeah, and this was yeah, you look at I can't believe the Matt's what happened hasn't touched this yet. Maybe it did. But yeah, like from 2006 all the way to 2013, it took 7 years to come out,
No.
and it came out and it was basically a middling, 5s to 7s.
Wow. Well, so up against that, I considered saying Saints Row 4. I considered doing that. I also considered arguing for RE5 as a 10 out of 10. And I know that it's not, if you play it alone, nowhere near.
There's two problems. There's two problems with RE5 as a 10 out of 10, which is one, like you already said, single player kind of balls.
Yeah.
Two, the other problem is that if you really sit there and think about it, RE5 compared to RE4, it's just a lesser game. It's a prettier but weaker version of RE4.
I'm gonna give
And
it
there's your problem.
Yeah,
So you
I'll
can't
allow it.
sit there it's like maybe you could sit there and say they're both 10 out of 10s, just one is better than the other. But it's like
Chev's so cool and hot.
5 is definitely a lesser game than 4. And most of what 5 has that's good is just repeating the stuff that was in 4.
Totally fair.
You can't sit there and tell me all those bosses being turret sequences were somehow a gameplay improvement.
I loved co-op play on that game, so I beat it so many times.
And co-op clouds people's judgment on this game hard.
Sure did mine. My two other runners up for 360 where I thought like, oh, these would be like good choices to be like, oh, I didn't expect Andrew to say that. Super Meat Boy, which I think technically was like on everything, right? But
eventually.
It was also on PC. I think we played it on PC.
No, we played it on your Xbox.
Oh, we did. Yeah. Okay. So you're right. We did. Super Meat Boy, kind of a perfect game.
It kind of is.
You can get through everything that sucks about those kinds of games super fast. Reload super fast.
Yeah.
Running through. It's goofy. It's fun. The graphics are fun, and you're like it's straight and to the point.
No.
But
You're
still
right.
not easy. Yeah, perfect game. And then I thought about saying Darksiders.
I have a soft spot for that game.
I liked Darksiders. Now, granted, I didn't play it when it originally came out.
Mm-hmm.
I played it years later streaming it. Somebody was like, you got to stream this. And I got Darksiders on 360 and streamed it. And then I think the re-release or the remaster came out after that. Like it came out just after that. After I had streamed the original. I can't remember exactly. One thing that I don't like about Darksiders, and I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, a lot of people like to say it's like a dark Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand how you get dark Zelda from this.
It's the structure. It's like you go to an area. You have like this MacGuffin plot where it's like go to these 4 areas. You go to each area. There's a dungeon with keys that unlock doors. In that dungeon, you find a weapon item that lets you access other parts of the dungeon that you couldn't previously access, and it lets you access other parts of the world map you couldn't access until you got said item.
I thought they were like
a boomerang with spikes on it.
Right. Okay. I guess now I see it. Like I was thinking more like it's way more of an action game than Zelda was.
And 2 leaned harder into the sort of action side of things and being more Devil May Cry-ish.
It did, yeah.
But yeah, that's
So that was a runner-up. I had a lot of choices. I feel like 360 was around for so long, and there was so many like firsts for me.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm going with XCOM just because it was the right thing at the right time for me, and so it hit 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And also, of everything on the 360, picking a tactics game just feels very feels right. Feels good.
Feels very contrarian.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope someone's mad. I don't know.
Let's talk about Wii U.
Oh,
not a lot of games on Wii U, but there were at least 2 10 out of 10s on that system.
Zombie U.
No.
Zombies 10 out of 10 game.
No,
it made
it's not.
zombies scary.
It did, but I don't know if I'd call it a 10 out of 10 game.
Other than the fact that it had a game-ending bug, which made me hate it
But
forever.
that was on the PS4 version. That may not even be on the Wii U version.
I think it was on PC for me that I
Or
played. I don't know.
PC.
Yeah.
Oh, more than likely. Oh, that's definitely more than likely the PC version.
Yeah.
Ubisoft with a bad PC port. Who could tell?
Right. And look, I hate it forever because of that. But up until I hit that point, I was like, holy shit. This is legit. This is like having zombies be scary again is it was an achievement.
I agree. Zombie U is a very good game, but you know what I think is the best game on the system? I think Donkey Kong's the best game on the system.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's Donkey Kong.
Tropical Freeze is one of the greatest games ever made.
Conky Dong.
One of these days, people will come to understand that. It truly, truly is one of the best games ever.
It is a fantastic game, and I'll give it that just from the music.
Someone once told me, like, "Hey, what would you do if I could design a game, like any game, like not do a sequel to a game, not take over an IP, but like any game?" And I was describing how I would make a 2D platformer, and someone's like, "Doesn't Donkey Kong basically cover all that?" And I was like, "Yes, it does." And
Yes, I am happy.
I'm like, and that's why Tropical Freeze is one of the best games ever made. It's a 2D platformer that has no stinking factory levels, no industrial levels. It does have container boxes, but they're basically in the ocean after the ships crash into mangroves, or boats crash into mangroves. But like, yeah, there's not even really there's like a lava level at the end in the snow and lava. But like, yeah, there's no like lava level, there's no factory level, no city level, there's no boring industrial looking, no urban crap. It's just mangroves, the Alps, the savannah, coral reefs, a big old fruit jungle, and then a big snowy land, big snow cap land. It's
Isn't
the
there
best
mines?
game. Not in Tropical Freeze. You have minecart levels,
Oh, okay.
but you don't have a level that's just here's a cave.
Okay.
Like just generically cave. There's cave levels, and they're pretty awesome. But yes, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is one of the best games ever made. The only thing it doesn't have over any other 2D platformer is that the world map doesn't have a ton of secrets on it. Just the one thing Super Mario World still has over every other game, and that is a crazy secret riddled overworld map.
Huh.
And no one's even attempted that. But when it comes to just raw like atmosphere, mood, graphics, a game that has a lot of stuff for exploration heavy people. It has a whole online system built in for speedrunners. It lets you basically it has like you can download like the top 3 fastest times for any level in the world, the ghost data, and watch it. So you can like the game, you just go in there and like watch, okay, someone beat this level in 10 seconds. How? And you can literally download their ghost data and like watch like basically a replay of their whole run and stuff. So
Isn't it kind of weird how there's like there's something for everybody in gaming. Like you can care so much about speed running a platformer that you can get the data from somebody who's done it super fast so that you can study it so that you can then do it and maybe try to beat them. That's insane.
It is insane.
That's
But then there's also all kinds of wild stuff of just interacting with the environment and stuff and exploring stuff. And obviously that has a very finite ending, but like it's a great journey all the way. You have like a hard mode unlock and stuff. You could play as, one hit mode where as different characters with different abilities. It really is the best. It's the best. It's the best 2D platformer ever made. Some people just haven't come to accept it yet.
What do they say is if they don't pick that, what do they pick?
Well, I think the go-to is almost always like Mario World, maybe Mario.
Go 3. Fuck yourself. I'm kidding. I don't feel that strongly. I just feel I'm picking a side, all right?
Yeah, well, it's like usually Mario World or Mario 3. Every so often you get someone who says like Yoshi's Island's the best 2D platformer, and I'm like, yeah, if you're narcoleptic or something, and you a great game. You can fall asleep that game, wake up, and nothing will have happened.
Well, I got an easy one for PS4. That's another one that's just like so. It's such a long lifespan that there's so many games that would be like 10 out of 10. And part of me was tempted to be like, oh, Ghost of Tsushima, easy one to pick.
I do love that game.
I do love that game. Part of me is like, is it really a 10 out of 10 or do I just love it? I don't care.
That's actually a good question because I mean, I remember I kind of got like Kenny tilted. I didn't mean to get him mad at me, but I was just saying like, no, I'm telling you why. Like, why isn't this game as highly rated as others? And I'm like, because there's nothing to do in the game besides kill Mongols.
Right.
Like there's no fishing, there's no like building. He's like, oh, I don't give a crap. I'm like, Kenny, I don't care either. Trust me, I don't. I'm just telling you why people are going to be like, this isn't as good as say an Assassin's Creed Odyssey or whatever.
Okay.
Because there's just not a lot to do in that game. You kill Mongols, you follow birds, maybe you make up a haiku, maybe you press some buttons to chop some bamboo, or like you climb a mountain. You don't do
Find a
much.
fox.
Yeah, you find a fox. Like you basically just like most that 90% of that game is just there's Mongols over here. You go and you kill them. The end.
Right. And I like it.
It is straight and to the point, and I enjoy it for that.
And it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
But instead I decided, just because I feel like it needs even more love and I want it to come back. I picked Titanfall 2.
Andrew, I think it's a very good pick, actually.
Yeah.
I played that not too long ago. I actually went back and played the single player.
So good.
Because it's on Game Pass. It was on Game Pass. I was like, everyone says this game's really good. I'm going to play it on Game Pass. That really wasn't. That really was an all-timer single-player campaign. Because like every chunk of Titanfall 2's campaign was like a different experience. You did like all kinds of different. So there's like that time watch thing.
Mm-hmm.
For like zipping. I think it was like zipping before present and past. So you were like, there was like a part where like you were falling down this shaft of like all these turbine blades, and you had to like keep like hitting the time watch to go to the future or go to the past. So like in the future, all the things like have degraded and like, all the blades are gone. So as you're falling, you have to like keep hitting the watch to go in and out of future and past.
It's okay. Here's the easiest way I can explain why Titanfall 2 is a 10 out of 10. It's everything that is good about Titanfall 1 polished and removing the things that made Titanfall 1. There wasn't anything that I found bad about Titanfall 1, but like
it was just a multiplayer game.
Right. And any of the pinch points and stuff like that, Titanfall 2 got rid of, and then also had a killer campaign. Like it's just good. I don't know. I think I've just like that's a game I want to come back. I want that. And granted, yes, I realize fucking Apex or whatever. Fuck all that.
Well, and then of course the hackers took over the multiplayer on it because basically Respawn abandoned it. Because yes, what are you gonna do? Like there's nothing. They have to make Apex.
Yeah. Apex, whatever. Go to hell. All right, end us on some culture. End us with some culture. We've gone long in the tooth, but
all right. Well, straight up, what is the best Super NES game?
Ooh,
I'm gonna make this easy. There is no best Super NES game.
They're all good.
There's too many good ones, but this is standard. Man, does any game hit harder than the ending of Chrono Trigger? Just saying.
To be fair,
having an RPG that's not 50 million hours long, not grindy, lets you decide how long you want the story to go on, does all kinds of cool stuff with time shenanigans, and then ends like 13 different ways. Well, 12, I guess, on the Super NES. Like, it's kind of like, I don't know, like it's kind of everything in a weird sort of way. So to me, I'm like, okay, there is Mario World, there's Link to the Past, there's Super Metroid, there's Donkey Kong Country. Like, that is also Chrono Trigger, man. Chrono Trigger is Chrono Trigger is like one of the only games on that system that's gonna make you like actually tear up. Like, yeah, maybe Final Fantasy 6, maybe Lufia 2 or something. But like Chrono Trigger is gonna hit you in a level you just don't get hit normally in a 16-bit era.
I don't know if Final Fantasy 6 is like would make you tear up so much as it gives you like oofs. Gives you oofs. But to be fair, I didn't play Chrono Trigger. I only ever watched videos of gameplay of it. I never played it when it was a thing.
Making this real easy.
Yeah, that's solid. That's an easy one to end on. I don't think anybody could argue against that. Granted, the SNES was. It's one
Again,
of those.
There's not a right answer. There's not a wrong answer. There's too many good games on the SNES.
Right, and I mean, I'm trying to think. What's a console that didn't have enough good games?
Jaguar.
I was gonna say the first Xbox, maybe, but no. To be fair,
the first Xbox has some real bangers.
It does, yeah.
It's hard to say like, well, Halo 2 are 10 out of 10, I guess.
Halo 2 is 10 out of 10. Halo 2, I mean, kicks ass. But also, it did introduce.
I kind of lost all my. I was playing Master Chief Collection. No, I was watching it on YouTube or something years ago, and I was like, I kind of like lost my mind when he met the Grave Mind, and I'm like, why is there a giant talking penis in Halo? And people got on my throat about like, that's the Grave Mind. That's a super important thing. It's not a penis. And I'm like,
wait a second. You're telling me that in reality, you're wandering the stars. You don't think there is a sentient,
I was just sort of like,
parasitic penis?
What? Wait a minute. Wait. Why is Master Chief talking to a penis?
Because Master Chief has excellent taste. I talk to my penis all the time. I was so
confused by what I was looking at, and I was like, wait a minute. This is your god. This
is your god now, and it's just a dick. We need mugs. Video games podcast. This is your god now. It's just a veiny dick. On that note, we've got patrons to thank. If you want to become a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week was Sparkonics. Thank you, Sparkonics. And our producers for this episode are Mutton Chops Johnson, the Schmidt One, Screwnomi, Croy 35, Hyper Viper 89, Ziggy Z, and Online Persona. Thank you, dudes. We will catch you next time.
Later, dudes.